by officially predicting the downfall of Selena Gomez's brand Rare Beauty.
It's on YouTube. Yep, so Selena Gomez is the CEO of a brand called Rare Beauty. You guys, already know about that. So she owns this makeup company, this cosmetic brand called Rare Beauty. People really like it. It seems to be doing really well in public perception. However, this article popped up on Bloomberg and Business Insider, and it's basically saying that Selena Gomez is weighing her options and selling Rare Beauty for $2 billion. And it also goes on to say that Rare Beauty has hired financial advisors to address the options and that she will remain involved in the company, whatever that outcome would be. Here's the thing, right? Look, listen, anytime that these brands sell their company off to an investor, they always stay on as a creative director or something in the marketing thing, but it's never the same. Once you sell the brand off, these people have control. And if they want to cut corners or they want to change a formula so they can save a couple of dollars, they will do that. So essentially what's happening is that Selena Gomez put a lot of time and effort to giving you quality products. So we expect that. So whenever they change an ingredient or change something along the lines to make it cheaper and don't let us know, we still think it's a great quality product when in actuality it's cheaper formula. And none will be the wiser. So it's like, oh, why isn't this lipstick lasting as long as it used to? By that time, they're already recouped their $2 billion. Does that make sense? Now look, I think that Selena Gomez, I think that's a mistake for her to sell the brand, especially because the brand is so much tied to her name. Like it literally, people buy Rare Beauty because it's by Selena Gomez. If I didn't know anything about Rare Beauty, I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't care. But because it's tied to her name and her name has power and weight, and there's like a lot of meaning behind it in organizations, which there's drama within her organization that we won't get started on that one. But it's like, if people find out that it's no longer owned by her, they're gonna be less inclined to buy it because it's so closely tied to her name. Now, I found this video on TikTok that explains it way better than I can. So check it out, credit to them. Here we go, roll it.
Hi, I was the youngest person in Canada to graduate with an MBA, and today I'm going to use it to potentially cancel myself by officially predicting the downfall of Selena Gomez's brand Rare Beauty. So for those of you that haven't heard, Selena Gomez herself recently announced that she is seriously considering selling the brand for, wait for it, $2 billion. Now, for those of you that think that's a lot of money, because it is a lot of money, but to be more specific, it actually is a fair price for the brand, because typically when an investor is going to be coming in and purchasing such a huge organization like Rare Beauty, what they'll do is they will pay a multiple on sales, more specifically a multiple on EBITDA, but to keep it simple, we'll call it sales. So Rare Beauty racks in on average about $300 million a year in revenue. So an investor will typically come in who's hoping to acquire the company, and they will be willing to pay somewhere between a 7 and 10 times multiple on that sales number. It's going to be industry dependent and also dependent on different variables that come up during the due diligence process. But looking at the sale volume of $300 million a year and the potential sale price of the company for $2 billion seems to be a fair price to me. Now, keep in mind, this is a private company, so I wasn't able to do as much research on the organization as I would have hoped to. But from the information I was able to gather, it seems to be the case that Selena Gomez actually owns 100% of this brand. If that's true, that is mind-blowing. Very few celebrities do that. Rihanna doesn't even own 100% of Fenty. I believe she owns 50%. Kylie Jenner doesn't own her brand. Millie Bobby Brown doesn't own her brand at all. Almost every single influencer you've ever seen doesn't really own their business. They're basically fake licensing deals where they're pretending that they are the founders of these brands, but they're really just private labeling this some other company's product. So if this is the case, this is a huge accomplishment, and it will be really a historical achievement for Selena Gomez. So let's talk about why I actually think selling the company could be a massive mistake. A lot of times when a huge private equity firm comes in and attempts to acquire a company like Rare Beauty, they don't take into account a lot of the social and cultural factors that resulted in the success of the company in the first place. So we have a brand that is extremely heavily tied to the identity and persona of Selena Gomez, all the way from the social ethos of the brand in its attempts to foster conversations about mental health and donate to mental health causes, being a direct result of Selena Gomez's struggles with mental health and lupus, all the way to the name of the company, Rare, which is literally named after Selena Gomez's album. So we have a brand that really doesn't have an identity outside of Selena Gomez. And we've seen textbook examples of this happening in the past. One specific one I've spoken about before being Kylie Cosmetics. As soon as she sold 51% of her company, the revenue drastically fell. I think that it was due to many factors that this happened, but I do think that there's something to say about the public perception of an individual starting a company, selling a huge equity stake, and then the public really seeing that you really aren't involved in the brand. So the sole reason that consumers had to support it in the first place is gone. So when a company is paying $2 billion for a company, it's based upon the assumption that they will be able to grow at the same rate, if not a faster exponential rate that the company has been performing at in the past 5 years. They're not taking into account the PR disaster of Selena Gomez selling the brand, becoming a billionaire, and essentially falling out of public favorability, which, let's be honest, we've seen blips of that happening already. They're not taking all of that into account, and simply giving her a title like Chief Creative Officer or the Ambassador of Rare Beauty will not be the same, because at the end of the day, the public will know that Selena Gomez sold her company, and we all know that when that happens, she will have absolutely no control over it because it literally will not be her company. So to summarize, I think it would be a huge strategic mistake for these investors to assume that Rare Beauty will be able to continue to perform at these revenue numbers next year and the year after and the year after, because of the highly competitive nature of the market, because of how heavily tied it is to how much the public likes Selena Gomez, and because of the fact that I don't think the products themselves are actually unique enough to carry the brand long term and to essentially be able to generate and recuperate a $2 billion investment. They need to literally make more than $2 billion in order for this not to be a waste of money. And I just do not see a world in which that happens. And something else that I think could be around the corner is a PR disaster waiting to happen because of the Rare Impact Fund. So this is all alleged. Do not sue me. But if you do research online, you can see that the Rare Impact Fund is not actually a real charity. So it doesn't file taxes. So we actually have no idea how much money they donate. We have no idea what they're doing. It's essentially a private organization, and it's operated by a company called the Hopewell Fund. So it's essentially a fiscal corporation that has a network of different organizations that aren't really real charities, and they have been slowly being exposed essentially for being involved in some very shady operations. For anybody that works in this space knows that it is the least surprising thing in the world, because unfortunately, I hate to burst anybody's bubble, but the only reason a celebrity would start a fund like the Hopewell Fund or the Rare Impact Fund is to get tax breaks and to increase public favorability for marketing purposes. It's the same reason when celebrities open churches, guys. They're not opening churches because they came to God. They're opening churches because it gives them exemptions in the tax code. That's really the honest truth. So I think that is also another PR scandal that could be the final nail in the coffin after the inevitable scandal of Selena Gomez starting this brand, selling it after only 5 years, people finding out that the entire reason that they supported it, because I do think the main differentiator of the brand was the social impact they were making. Once people find out that that isn't as authentic as it really could have been, because at the end of the day, celebrities have started real charities before. Elton John did it, Miley Cyrus did it. I'm not sure why Selena Gomez didn't do it. If you don't believe me, you can even read the website. You can see that they essentially conform their words like pretzels to avoid saying the word charity, because it would be against the law for them to call it a charity. It is absolutely not a charity. Rare Beauty only donates, I think, about 1% of its profits to this fund. So at the end of the day, it is marketing. And I just don't think that the products will be able to carry the brand. I think that the main reason that people are supporting the company is because of the social aspect and that communal aspect, and that feeling that people are supporting a cause bigger than themselves, a cause bigger than makeup. But I think that the collection of PR disasters, from Selena Gomez selling to then further distancing herself from her original fan base by becoming a billionaire and living a lifestyle that is just very far removed from the average person, I think it is inevitable that at the very least the sales will decline, and whoever is planning on buying this company for $2 billion will have a very difficult time justifying and recuperating that investment. So the next thing I'd like to expose is the fact that this article that Selena Gomez is thinking about selling Rare Beauty for $2 billion was released in Bloomberg. So something that we all need to understand is that journalism in North America is pretty much dead. So if you think that this article was written by Lois Lane at the Daily Bugle because she just heard whispers about this happening and she felt like it was a public service and she had to inform us that Selena is planning on selling her company, that's not the case. That's not how this stuff works. Selena Gomez's team specifically contacted Bloomberg, curated this article probably over many months, where there is this much money to be made. There are boardrooms of people calling the shots and essentially crafting the public narrative for very specific strategic reasons. So there are two main reasons why they would be essentially releasing an article like this. The first reason would be they're trying to gauge the public reaction to a potential sale of Rare Beauty. So if they're able to just sort of slip this into an article that maybe won't get too much traction, they'll be able to sort of feel out the public reaction. And if they're getting a lot of negative backlash, they may think twice about selling the company, or they may consider only selling 50% or only 25%, whatever the case may be. And the second reason is they may be trying to generate more demand for other people to potentially buy the company. So if articles start getting written about how Rare Beauty is worth $2 billion, one of the most large, beauty companies in the entire world, there may be other private equity firms and other investors that are going to be willing to bid more, which I, again, have expressed think would be a mistake from their end. From Selena Gomez's perspective, I can't say I would ever say no to $2 billion. So I'm just being real. Anyway, I have to go to bed, but I just think that investors really need to understand the difference between buying a brand and buying a personal brand. It is a completely different thing, and they are treating it like they're buying Dyson, like they're buying Clorox. It's not the same thing. Consumers have a completely different relationship with these types of products versus a brand where they have a very specific parasocial human relationship with the person behind it. And when that person sells, it's, in my opinion, inevitable that the brand will decline and the popularity will decline and the potential for your investment to be worth it will decrease. So that's just my personal opinion.
So that's what I'm trying to say. I also feel like when you have brands like Patrick Starr, Kylie, who else? Rihanna, they don't own their brands. So the fact that Selena Gomez, Kylie's trying to buy her brand back, but we'll see what happens. But the fact that Selena Gomez owns her brand, if this looks better on her, she don't have to split money so many ways, right? But the reason is like, why? Why is she weighing her options to even sell it? Is she getting bored of the makeup? Has there been a decline in sales? So she's like, we can sell it off. But not to be negative about it at all. When I look at the positives of it, if an investor wanted to buy her brand for $2 billion, they're getting a lot that goes with it. They're getting Selena Gomez. They could have conversations with her, take photos, videos, maybe do their own campaign if they wanted to be in on it, run collaboration ideas, and basically have that inner circle of her as well. You're not just buying the brand, you're also buying a piece of her. And so that's why it's at $2 billion, which I think is actually really good, fair price for it. But with all that to say this, I think that Selena Gomez and the Rare Beauty brand, I believe if I'm right, it is a private company. So they don't really have to disclose so much if they don't want to. But there is something to say the fact that she was even thinking about doing this. The fact she was even thinking about doing it, I think, speaks volumes. But that's my opinion, girl. Who am I? Who am I? You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, I have been around the block several times. There have been so many brands where they change a formula in something. I mean, MAC Cosmetics just recently did it with their foundation. People said it was too mattifying, and now their new foundation has hyaluronic acid and gives your skin like a nice little moisture to it. Like, I don't want that. I miss the old formula. And so there's been so many times, and if you guys know it for yourself, like how many times have we gone to a drugstore or something, or a counter or the beauty boutique, and you're like, do you have this shade? And they're like, that's discontinued. And you're like, what? This happens a lot. So I think that this could happen with Rare Beauty when things are going to start getting discontinued, or they're not going to have that shade anymore, or no longer extending shade ranges. I think it's going to be just a hot mess if she does sell the brand out, and I think it's a bad idea. Good for her in her pockets, but when it comes to the beauty world, there's just not that many brands who are open and honest about the ingredients that they're putting in there. It's just hard to find, right? It's just really hard to find good cosmetics with good ingredients that have like good moral ethics and backgrounds behind it. Does that make sense? You know, I don't want something with phthalates and phthalates and carbon black and all that stuff like that. I don't want any of that. I want good, clean products. And I think that Selena Gomez delivers that. But if she sells her company, I don't feel like I can trust it. I just don't feel like I can trust it anymore. But that's my opinion on that situation. So let me know what you think about that drama in the comments down below. This is Rich Lux with the hottest news on YouTube. Mwah.